it's tough waiting for the full release for Rhythming Waves. So, I was wondering, why not try Punishing Grey Raven instead? Apparently, the game is really good, with a significant amount of fandom behind it, yet it's so niche, and I'm curious to find out why. I've seen videos of the game before where they show a lot of knickknacks and gameplays that looks visually appealing, and I'm interested. This is going to be my first impression of the game, and I probably might get jumped afterwards. I don't know if the PGI community is similar to Genshin Impact, but I guess we will have to see. Before I get right into it, I'd like to mention that I'm playing this on a PC client as a free-to-player. When I was first trying out the game, I wasn't too interested in the story of PGR. I find myself just skipping through all the dialogues because I thought it wouldn't make me feel invested into it. Furthermore, I've heard there's quite a few complaints about the story, which amplifies the unneeded attention to it. Plus, I wasn't sure if I was making a review on this, but since I'm making this review, I might as well just read it. Surprisingly, it wasn't too bad. It was quite brief, concise, and went straight to the point. Sure, they didn't really expand too much on the world building during that time I was reading it, and the story is quite simple and linear. The interactions between characters sometimes feels like filler that doesn't hold much substance for the lore. Nevertheless, I enjoyed the story. I really do enjoy Kamiri and Nozzle screen time. They were pretty funny.
So you're still qualified as an audience? I won't fucking kill you here. We can't. We got a mission to finish, Mr. Butler.
I'm glad the dialogues isn't too long and blatant unlike some other gacha games, so I was able to absorb the story content pretty easily. Now the combat of the game, it's really cool. You have these waifus and husbandos rip and tearing every enemy with fashion and style. Characters that are able to charge attack, characters that are able to parry, characters that are able to show realistic move physics. It's great. What's so unique about this combat is the implementation of the orb system. You have the red one, the yellow one, and the blue one. Depending on the characters you have, these orbs can provide attacks, shields, and heals. Now the interesting bit is that these orbs can be stacked up to 3 times. They have to match colors though, and they provide further increase of percentages and actions mentioned previously. If I were to be honest, most of the time I was just spamming that one button for the orbs. I didn't really give a shit on optimizing and matching those orbs, and I can't multitask for shit. But you really can't do this to certain characters where the skill and moveset revolves around matching those orbs. But I think those characters are pretty hard to come by if you're not really looking for them. As long as I can dodge, it's all good. Speaking on dodging, if you dodge at the right time, you'll be able to undergo slow-mo for a certain duration, making you able to prolong your combos, just like Witch Time and Bayonetta. Funny thing about the battle requirements, my characters are heavily underleveled and most stages I find are 3 times higher than they are, yet I was able to pass through the stages with flying colors. Now I'm not too entirely sure if I'm able to keep up with the momentum, but I'm quite certain that this sort of thing would not fly long term. But it does give me a sort of illusion that I am a god at this game and that I should be the CEO of Kiri Games. I'm still waiting for my applications, mate. I know for the fact that players might find this repetitive, especially with no audio options, but that's what you get with gacha games sometimes. It is what it is. I think the gameplay is hardcore, but to an extent what a mobile device can provide. It doesn't have the same difficulties like with other notable hack and slash games, but it's enough for a mobile game to entertain players to give them that sort of little bit of an edge. I find 80% of the characters to be plain and bland. They don't really tickle my pickle. The male characters mostly have the same BTS Jimin haircut that I find pretty funny, but with the cosmetics equipped, oh my god, they look 1,000 times better. Weapons also have cosmetics as well, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, getting those cosmetics might be hard since you have to buy those in store or in a specific event, which sucks, but skins are skins. Another thing about this, scrolling through these skins in the shop reminds me of Japanese sex dolls out on display at the shopping mall. I don't know, I just don't like it. Add some TikTok filters or I don't know. Now off to the things I don't like about this game. I find the UI system to be very messy. There's a lot of things that are cluttered together and there's a lot of navigating to get where you want to go. What's a good analogy for this? Imagine you have piles and piles of books scattered around the room. You don't have a bookshelf, God knows why, but you did your best by stacking them together. Now, it might look cleaner than before, but it's still quite messy, since, well, they're on the floor. Imagine there's a book that you want to read, but you have to lift up a few stacks of books in order to get to that one, and if you want to read another book, you have to repeat that process again. That's how I feel about the overall experience for the UI system. For example, leveling up characters. Leveling up characters? Shouldn't that be simple enough? Yes, but they decided to add extra steps to it. Every time you level up a character, you can also build up their basic skills, special skills, and common effect. There's evolution effect, but I won't mention that since I think it's not that free to play friendly, as you won't be able to do anything with it unless you get character duplicates. Now the funny thing about the leveling is that your character's max levels are proportionate to the levels of your account. So if your account is level 15, then the highest level that your characters can go for is level 15. The actual highest level that the characters can go for is level 80. Bit strange on why Cherry Games decided to cap the levels of the characters, but I think it's a way to influence players to play more to get more EXP. Now every time your account gets leveled up, you want to level up your characters and then you level up their skills and then you gotta do that with the other characters for every levels. It's repetitive and I feel like I'm doing chores. I wish they didn't implement the level cap, but it's fine. But it does make me go a little bit insane. Speaking of being insane, the number of times the game asks you if you're sure about the decision you are making is infuriating. Are you sure you want to skip the story? Are you sure you want to go into the stage with underlevel characters? Are you sure you want to use the trial characters without learning the tutorial? Jesus Christ, I'm sure. Please leave me the fuck alone. I play a lot of hack and slash games. Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, Hades, Lies of P. All of those games, I've always used a controller since I find it the most comfortable to use. So I decided to use it for this game. Combat wise, it's fine. Weird button layouts, but otherwise, no complaints. But for the general use like navigating and selecting options, it's terrible. The button layouts for those things are atrocious, and the cursor is so slow that I have to switch to mouse very often. But I'm sure that most players who are playing in a PC client will likely use a keyboard and mouse so they won't encounter this sort of issue. Every time your account goes into a certain level, there's an abundance of random things that pop in your face. Various events, minigames, game modes, resource stages, dorms, and 20 other game modes that I'm not too sure what it's even about. There's also like 1,000 variations of currencies, items, and shop exchanges that it's so hard to keep track on. It's pretty mind-numbing. I misinterpret it as being grindy, since there's way too many things to do and look through early on, and I thought this might be a recurring thing weekly. I was hating on it hard. It took me a while to understand and learn some of these things, but I think it's not grindy at all, since they're not really a mandatory thing. It's beneficial if you do them, but they're not going anywhere. Most of them are not limited stuff. I think it's best just to take your time with the game instead of trying to rush everything, otherwise you'll get overwhelmed. There was just a lot of game modes and stages to do that I feel like it might not be necessary to implement. It feels like the developers added game modes on top of game modes on top of game modes each update. This sort of thing might be a preference thing, but with the bukkake explosion of random things in your face, it might be a huge turnoff for new oncoming players. A lot of players are stating that PGR is a very generous game, and I agree with that. You can easily get an S tier character very early, and you can get another one free later down the road with your choosing. Free weapons are included too, so that's very nice. Furthermore, certain events will often give an additional selection of an S tier character. Wish my sugar daddies like this. You get a decent amount of energy from dailies and event missions, so you can prolong your game time. I've heard that each update you get tons of resources and rewards, way more than Genshin Impact anniversary events, I'm sure. I can't verify this, but I don't doubt it. The gacha system is really nice with the pities, and it gives you a lot of chances to give you the characters and weapons that you want. Depending on how conservative with money you are, but still generous compared to other gacha games. As the community guidelines, it is recommended for free to players to go for the theme, event construct, and arrival construct, while Rails go for fate theme construct and fate arrival construct. Terrible names, but anyway. I don't really get the Wales options for the banner since you're disadvantaged by reach and pity between 80 to 100 pulls. Why not go for the free to play banners as you're guaranteed to get an S tier character in 60 pulls? I don't know, I'm not too smart. Too much thinking. There are other banners, but I'm not able to unlock at this time of the review, so unlucky. There is one thing that I don't find very generous, and it's the weapon system.
But why don't you like the weapon system, Wookie? You're probably fuming that weapon banner exists, Wookie. You probably pulled fuck all in that banner and decided to put your blame onto the game and not your gambling addiction, Wookie.
I wish. When I first started the game, I was giving a few pulls and didn't know how the gacha system works. I didn't really care and went for the weapons banner first. Don't ask me why, I'm not too entirely sure. Within those few pulls, I somehow got a weapon, and it's the Star Voyager, an S tier weapon. But imagine to my surprise that this wasn't a blessing, it was a curse. There's only 2 spear users in this entire game, which is extremely low. But that doesn't matter because only one is able to use it. What in the fuckery did I get myself into? The way the weapon works is that if you have a signature weapon, you need the signature person for it. And this sort of concept applies to most characters in this game, if not all of them. Take the current event character for example, Crimson Reeve. Her signature weapon can only be used by her and her alone, and not by anyone. What in the tarnation? How is this allowed? I have never ever seen anything like this. Now sure, I should have done my research beforehand to not get myself into this situation, like how a baby is supposed to know quantum physics straight after being born. I just didn't really expect them to do this sort of thing. Now the way they compensate this is that there is a rate of pull selection that increases the chance of getting a specific weapon, and a guaranteed S tier once you reach 30 pulls. If I had a choice between increasing the chances on getting an S tier weapon or making weapons universal for certain class, I'd choose the latter. But this might be a preference thing. A lot of content in this game is locked since you need to be a certain level to play them. The only way to get a huge influx of EXP is to get a military instructor, aka your dad. To access this, you need to go through the guide from the homepage, the one with the hat and not the other one. Don't know why they have the same names, and you choose your dad in the section. You then select your chores and complete them to get your sweet rewards of EXP. Not only that, your dad can also give you an allowance of 5-star memory shards. Now, I'm not too sure if I like this system. On one hand, you get a drastic amount of EXP so that you'll be able to play more content with the game. And on the other hand, you have to find someone to be your dad. And I hate my dad. Maybe there's better ways to get more EXP without relying on others, but I'm not too sure if PGR has anything like this comparable to the dad function. I'm pretty sure that you guys know that I haven't unlocked a lot of things from this game since I'm still low leveled. But I think I can still make a first impression review on this since I've been playing this game for basically around a week. Mind you, I only play this game when I'm streaming. I don't do anything with the game off streaming. Now, why do I think the game is niche? Because it's intended for mobile players. Let me explain. It's quite obvious that Curry Game is mainly aiming towards the demographic for mobile players, not PC gamers. The game was originally a mobile game, but it was ported to PC a year ago, just for improvement of quality of life. But I'm willing to bet that if you give me a pie chart regarding the players of PGR, 80% of players are mobile gamers, while the other is playing on Samsung refrigerators. I would say that most of the player base are from places where consoles and PCs are not often bought, especially in Eastern countries. But mobile phones are. They're very convenient and they're very portable. They're easily accessible as well. You can always get second-hand phones from your family members, especially with your mom, since all the moms wants to have the latest tech and taking photos for Facebook. There are also Western countries that doesn't have easy access to consoles and computers, but it's quite a few and it makes things easy for me if I just say Eastern countries. As a mobile player, you can launch it at home, at the bus, at the train, at school, and at the toilets. Wow, very convenient. And PGR seems to fit the bill for it due to its generous rewards, attractive characters, and fun gameplay. And that's what gamers tend to look for. PGR is able to provide sustainable entertainment for players in the Eastern countries since a well-built PC and console is hard to come by. That's why I think there's quite a bit of fandom behind PGR, yet it still remains to be niche. Most Western countries really wouldn't like a PGR, and even if they do try it out, they probably wouldn't like it since they have other forms of entertainment. And I think that can be applied to most content creators out there, since I rarely see them playing it. But that's what I think anyway. I'm just talking a lot of things out of my ass, so take it with a grain of salt. It's hard to give a definitive rating on PGR since it's not really my type of game. The PC version of Punishing Grey Raven still felt like I'm playing a mobile game, cause duh, it technically is. But I know that other people love this game. I think I'll be playing this game on and off until Rhythm and Waves comes out. It is my cup of tea for me to play it religiously, but your experiences with this game might be vastly different from mine. Try it out. Maybe you find the second coming of Jesus in Punishing Grey Raven. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, comment down what you think, and subscribe. I have Ko-fi and Patreon if you want to come by and support me. Got a family of 3 ants to feed. And yeah, that's it. See ya.